Mswatu inkosi ithula akayithathe akahambe nayo akayithathe yotenza bakewone akayithathe
This is the Tuesday edition of Market View. I am Nathalie Sitole, glad to have you on the program. On Monday, the Minister of Labour and Social Security announced new wages councils for Eswatini's 18 regulated sectors, with members set to serve a 3-year term. These councils play a critical role in recommending minimum wages and certain conditions of employment across key industries, including construction, domestic work and retail, among others. The appointments come against the backdrop of concerns about the rising cost of living. Some workers across various sectors say their wages are struggling to keep pace with the cost of living. On the program today, in conversation with the Labour Commissioner, we'll learn of the legal mandate of the wages councils and the criteria they use to determine minimum wages. But first, our business stories. In our business news, the challenges affecting the Strait of Hormuz have created new investment opportunities for countries in Southern Africa as investors seek alternative locations for strategic investments. Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority's Chief Executive Officer Sibani Mgomezulu says countries in the United Arab Emirates have already expressed interest in establishing oil reserves in countries in Southern Africa. He says Eswatini is positioning itself to take advantage of this opportunity to attract foreign investment and strengthen the economy. The Chief Executive Officer made these remarks during a press briefing on the Eswatini Investment Conference held at Mountain View in Mbabane.
We do see opportunities with some of the disturbances in the Middle East and the tensions that are there. For example, when His Majesty was traveling recently in the UAE, we met a number of stakeholders and investors in the UAE, and the UAE have highlighted that for them energy security is very important. So they want to ensure that they've got stability of supply, and what you see happening with the Strait of Hormuz has disrupted supply. So they are looking at storage facilities for oil around the world, and Southern Africa then becomes on the radar to say, could we consider having a storage facility in Southern Africa? And even as we as Eswatini consider our own storage facility, we could be looking to position ourselves as a stable country where investors in the Middle East could build and have their own oil storage facilities. There are a number of other sectors as well. For example, food sovereignty. We've seen that, again, with the disturbances that are there in the world, it's disrupting supply chains, and it's ensuring that countries have to look at new partnerships and new countries where they can grow food supply. As Eswatini, we're well positioned to be able to play a role in that sector in terms of, exporting, like we currently do our timber, like we currently do our sugar. Let's look at new areas in terms of producing food for the world. But yes, the world is relooking at the established relationships, and Eswatini's position is very interesting at this time.
The Eswatini Investment Conference, which was scheduled to take place from the 29th to the 31st of this month, has been postponed to a later date, with it now expected to be held tentatively early next year. This was announced by Chief Executive Officer Sibani Mgomezulu during a press briefing held at Mountain View in Mbabane.
The conference remains a fundamental and strategic imperative for attracting and stimulating investment to Eswatini, in line with the government's program of action. Whilst preparations are at an advanced stage to host the conference, after careful consideration and consultation with key stakeholders, a decision has been taken to defer the conference to a date yet to be announced. Against this backdrop, we'd like to reassure the public that hosting the investment conference remains a priority for the kingdom as it enhances our ability to position Eswatini on the map as an attractive investment destination, and it also boosts investor confidence. What we encountered were some challenges around confirmations around some of the key panelists. We know that when you do an event of this nature, it's not about us, Eswatini. It's also about the outsiders you invite to come and participate. And a conference, when theme yayo is supported by subject matter experts, which is what we had. So we saw that for some of the panels we've constituted, the time within which they had, or in terms of their commitments, we were not securing all of the panelists we wanted. And for us, the theme is very important, connecting capital to opportunity. And we had different sub-themes around sustainable development, green and regional integration. And the Swafuna Lama subject matter experts, which abe khona onke. So that is a part of the reason you see us deferring the date. Furthermore, this year's conference, we had always stated, is going to be bigger and better. And for us, bigger and better means when it's hosted by the head of state, all those things need to be in place.
On another note, the Chief Executive Officer provided an update on the progress of the signature raffle draw.
Resource mobilization is continuing. We have seen sales both from individuals and corporates. A number of those sales have been made in the kingdom. I remember during the expo when people were looking at the vehicles and wondering whether Eswatini can afford to buy tickets. Eswatini are purchasing tickets. We will probably announce our progress on that once feedback has been given to the stakeholders. But where we are, that raffle continues. Tickets remain on sale on the different platforms.
Meanwhile, the Undersecretary in the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Pesheya Dube, outlines the ministry's role in supporting the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority and its initiatives.
We sit at a policy level where we are, then every year we sit down and strategize where are we going in terms of our mandate. So IPA is fulfilling that mandate. The other role here too is basically financing, because we budget together. So everything, labagwenda, gobaga IPA, my funds and everything else is where we come get through in ministry.
The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority reaffirmed its commitment to hosting the Eswatini Investment Conference, highlighting its importance in driving economic growth, attracting investment, and advancing national development. Reporting, Nelson Ngamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
First National Bank Eswatini has reaffirmed its commitment to Eswatini's growth after being named the most tax-compliant financial and insurance business large category for the fourth consecutive year since 2023. The bank received the award during the Client Appreciation Day by the Eswatini Revenue Service last week. In a statement, the Chief Executive Officer, Thokozani Dlamini, says the award is a reflection of the bank's commitment to responsible corporate citizenship, adding that the payment of taxes contributes to the development of communities and the country. The Chief Executive Officer also reaffirmed the bank's commitment to investing in Eswatini and expanding its support under its Help is for Everyone campaign. First National Bank is the first local bank to integrate its payment platforms with the Eswatini Revenue Service automated system for customs data, enabling real-time reflection of customs payments and making the declaration process faster and more convenient for traders. With some of the latest in business. After the break, we speak to Labour Commissioner Kingdom Mamba. Stay with us.
Hello to all the viewers of Eswatini TV in the Kingdom and beyond. Eswatini TV is regulated by the Eswatini Communications Commission through the Broadcasting Code and Broadcasting Guidelines. Under these instruments, the station commits to broadcasting information and news that have been fact-checked, programs and content in respectful language with no elements of hate speech, violence or sexual activity. If you hear any unsuitable content on this channel, you have a right to voice your complaints with the station management. Should you not be satisfied with the response or action taken, you can escalate your matter to the Communications Commission at PO Box 7811 Babani. Call 2406 7000 or send an email to info@escom.org.za. For more information, visit www.escom.org.za.
Welcome back. And moving on with the program, on Monday, the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Honourable Phila Buthelezi, officially inaugurated new wages councils for Eswatini's 18 regulated sectors, with members set to serve a 3-year term. Now, the appointments come as some industries have long been at the centre of debates around low wages. In some cases, the minimum wage is insufficient to meet employee basic needs, while employers maintain that any significant increases could affect competitiveness. So what exactly are wages councils, and can they strike the balance between protecting workers' livelihoods and ensuring businesses keep running? I am joined by the Labour Commissioner, Mr. Kingdom Mamba from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. Mfuleni, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. Maybe for somebody that is hearing about these councils for the first time, what exactly are a wages council? What is their legal mandate and maybe their day-to-day work?
Well, thank you, Nansile, for having me today. Yes, indeed, issues of a wages council. Wages council are just structures that are established by the law. They are established in terms of the Wages Act of 1964. The Act empowers the minister to appoint these structures, to sit down and look and review terms and conditions of these 18 regulated sectors of our economy. Yes.
Mfuleni, who exactly is eligible to serve or sit on a wages council? Take, for instance, we have the new councils now, a 3-year term. How were these candidates selected?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. You know, we've got workers and employers organizations. We normally get these representatives from the employers and workers organization. Now that we have got federations, we normally write to the federations, request for 6 members who will represent workers, and then also 6 members who will represent employers. We normally write to the social partners and then request them to submit the names of those that whom they deem fit to represent their interest in that particular, sector.
All right.
Yes.
And after this term, what will be the expected deliverables by these councils?
Well, the duration is 3 years. On an annual basis, they sit down, review terms and conditions, starting from your hours of work, the leave, even the cost of living adjustment itself, because now they are normally deemed to be concentrating only on the cost of living, but it is not that. It's not that case. They just look at all the terms and conditions in that particular sector. Even if maybe they feel like, okay, the hours of work are no longer feasible for that sector, they've got that right to change those hours of work. Issues of maternity, issues of leave, issues of compassionate leave, issues of the positions themselves. the positions. If, for example, there is no position that is not clearly, stipulated in that particular gazette, they can sit down and then rearrange, reorganize, come up with a position.
Right.
So that to cater all the people who are working in that particular sector. Yes.
So the name is Wages Council, popular for deciding, or rather making recommendations on the minimum wage for employers across different sectors. Take us through the actual process of arriving at a minimal wage recommendation. How does the councils, how do they get there?
Okay. Let me, as we speak, there is a wages regulation for each and every sector that is in force. What they normally do, they will sit down, convened by the chairperson who is appointed by the minister, and there are also 2 independent members that are appointed by minister to represent government now. Because in essence, these wages councils are tripartite, but government has got about 3 representatives, who is the chairperson, and 2 independent members. And then the social partners, who matters the most, have got about 6. So in essence, it's just a sitting of about 15 individuals, sitting down, reviewing the terms and conditions of that particular sector. And then what they normally do, they will exchange proposals to say, let's say, for this year, workers are saying, okay, we demand perhaps 10% increment. And we also want the hours of work for maybe textile and apparel to be reduced from 45 hours a week to at least 40.
Yeah.
They will come up, they'll craft their proposal and then exchange the proposal with the worker, with the employers, representatives. And then the chairman will then reconvene the meeting to sit down and look at the proposals. And then they negotiate basically to say why maybe 10% increment for this year. And then also the employers will be saying, no, we can't afford the 10% because maybe due to other, factors. They will negotiate up until they reach consensus. Yeah, and then they come up with their, wages regulation for that particular sector.
Okay, so it's
a matter of give and take, looking all factors, factors like the inflation, what's happening around, is it affordable? Yeah, for the employer to actually, give such an increment.
The employees themselves are consulted. They have a say on whatever recommendation.
Of course, yes, because these workers, they are drawn from what normally happens. The federation will actually write to their affiliates, who are unions, who are actually organizing in that sector. If it's textile and apparel, they will always look for people, for the unions that are organizing in the textile and apparel. So they know the issues. They know that the issues that is affecting workers in that particular sector.
Right.
They will sit down and then agree. But let me make this point clear, Notzile. With the wages regulation, it is just a bare minimum. Minimum terms and conditions. And then that is where, when the employers are now then not complying with the wages, we will then say they are underpaying, because that is just the bare minimum. So workers and employers, they are at liberty to negotiate even more than what is provided in the wages regulations. So they've got those rights to do that.
Say the negotiations are unsuccessful, or maybe an employee stands in a situation where the employer is not abiding by the minimum wage requirements. What steps can they take to ensure that the law is enforced in that case? Well,
Notzile, when it comes to the 18 wages regulations, if there is an employer now, after it has been, concluded and it is now recommended to the minister and a new regulation is issued, if there is an employer now who is not complying with it, it is the duty of our office to then enforce the wages regulation which have been, promulgated. So it is a duty of the minister to ensure. And it is, in fact, there is no discussion about that. It's a matter of us ensuring that now the employer complies. Well, if the employers are giving workers more than the wages record, should be fine. But as long as it is below, then we have to enforce it through our labor inspections that we conduct in all the establishments which are liable for inspections.
How often are these labor inspections conducted?
Well, our mandate, in terms of our mandate, we have to do it on a daily basis. Right. But, issues of resources, shortage of resources then features in there. But otherwise, we're supposed to be doing these inspections on a daily basis to ensure that now there is compliancy in the workplace.
Ndvuleni, in his address, when the minister was announcing the Wages Council, he spoke about evidence-based wage determination. What evidence do the councils use before deciding whether textile workers, whether security personnel, whether domestic workers or any other sector deserve a higher wage?
Well, factors will include the issue of inflation. Where's the inflation? How is the inflation, Those are some of the issues that they may also, look at and then use it to actually come to the right decision. All factors that may, issues like they're working in Matsapa, there are issues of workers, they do not have accommodation, they have to pay for their travel, their traveling expenses to work and from work, Those are some of the issues that they'll have to consider. Sit down and look at all these issues. But it must be evidence-based. You cannot just come up and say, we demand 10%. Based on what? It has to be clear. There must be a way, methodology then to say, look, these are the factors which actually make us to demand this pay rise of about 10%.
Right.
But it is squarely up to the social partners to sit down and negotiate. We often heard people saying, the minister is putting low wages for certain categories of employees. No, it is not the minister. It is the Wages Council themselves, which comprises of employers and employees and representative of government, to sit down and come up with what they believe it's enough, it's okay for that particular sector.
I think when we started the conversation, I had mentioned earlier that the Wages Council are announced at a time where there are sectors that have been known for the longest time to at least be among the lowest earning sectors, textile, security, domestic work, retail. Given this has been going on for so long, why is that the case? I mean, it's under the Wages Council. Why is it something difficult for the Wages Councils to review the minimum wage for these sectors?
Well, it is entirely up to the social partners that sit in these wages councils to actually look and engage in a robust, of course, negotiations. It is up to them, entirely up to them. We cannot actually influence. But what I can say that it is not that like all workers who are working in the textile sector are getting low. They are categories. They are categories. It depends on what they are doing in the textile and apparel sector. What is it that they are doing? Some are cutting. Some are actually doing, starting doing the material, starting from scratch, So it depends on the category in which these workers are in. Yeah, you will find that majority are on category A, which has got about, or lesser, wages compared to maybe category maybe C. So it depends on the category. It is wrong then to use just a blanket statement and say, textile workers are paid lower. Yes, there might be those that are being paid lower. Yes, I agree with you on that one. But it depends on the categories. Obviously, you will find that most of these workers are at a category where they are just general laborers. They do not have skills. So if they don't have skills, obvious, in terms of now their wages won't be the same to those that now, let's say, are machinists. They've got skills, specific skills for that particular sector.
Bulivia, thank you very much for talking
thank
to
you.
us. That was Kingdom Mamba, Labour Commissioner from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. We were just discussing, rather unpacking the recently announced wages cancels following that the Minister for Labour, Honourable Pilar Telezi, made the announcement on Monday on the new wages cancels, where the cancels are expected to be in office for 3 years. This is Market View. The show continues after this.
Those that are in pain must forget all the problems they have. Because the things of the earth have got no answer. But the answer that we have is all morning. When I'm preaching here, I'm preaching to myself. I receive the Holy Spirit.
I declare a turnaround is coming my way.
Turnaround is coming in my life.
Welcome back. Moving on to our final segment for the show, the market analysis. We'll speak to economist Anele Sibia joining us virtually. Mr. Sibia, good afternoon. Glad to have you with us. So big bank earnings are coming in. Have these reflected yet? What do they really tell us about the strength of the U.S. economy?
Thank you, Natsile. A good afternoon to you and a good afternoon to the viewer. So what we're seeing right now, moving markets and just making the headlines, is the US-Iran tensions there. So that now it seems like markets have just taken a step back. So in terms of the markets, what we're seeing in the US, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 138 points in today's trade. The FTSE, the Nasdaq Composite Index, is down 408 points in today's trade, and the S&P 500 is down 60 points. So now we're seeing the weight that these geopolitical tensions have in terms of market movements. While we know we are expecting these earnings to come through from the likes of your JP Morgan and Chase. And then moving into the European markets, the FTSE 100 is down 40.58 points in today's trade. The DAX is down 109.58 points in today's trade, and Paris is down 59.89 points in today's trade. Just tracking and trailing those geopolitical tensions there, with the price of Brent crude oil well above the $85 per barrel mark right now, and Europe is already reacting to that. While we go into Asia. Asia is relatively moot, just playing on that all-time at those low levels. When you look at the Nikkei, it's below the 68,000 mark, sitting at 67,743 in today's trade, losing 500 points, gaining some 500 points, but still just buying the dip and not really just going back to those aggressive levels we saw before the ceasefire. And then you come into the Hang Seng again. Hong Kong is just slightly up at 227 points, but another buying the dip there. And also in Shanghai, we're just seeing the Shanghai Composite Index down below the 4,000 mark, but slightly up 53 points in today's trade. South Africa is subdued, down 799 points in today's trade, following this news coming out of De Beers, with the $500 million it runs in losses, and then also the overall geopolitical tensions or sensitivity there. Eswatini will remain relatively stable at 501.25 emalangeni in terms of all share volumes. And then coming into commodities, we're seeing the inflation fears coming back into the markets. We're seeing gold ticking up 18.7 points in today's trade, just slightly above that $4,000 per ounce mark, and Brent crude oil is sitting at $87.12 per barrel. And now that is a major result of the geopolitical tensions that we are seeing there. In terms of the Lilangeni, we are seeing general weakness as the escalation continues there in the Middle East. We are sitting at 16.48 against the dollar, down 0.09 percentage points. We are down 0.2 percentage points against the euro, and we're also down 0.31 percentage points against the Japanese yen, where we are seeing that risk-off sentiments between emerging country currencies and those established global north currencies. Thank you, Notile.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sibia. That was economist Analyst Sibia coming through with Market Insights. This has been the Tuesday edition of Market View right here on Eswatini TV. From myself and the team, thank you for your company. Let's meet again next time. Take care.